The only thing that we're interested in is putting money in your wallet. If you want to bet the fights, if you want to have a little bit of action, you are in the right place. With my partner, Ian Parker, I am Brett Okamoto.
We're ready to rock between our parlays, our props, our straight picks. It's time to make money. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Time to make some money and have some fun, as my partner Ian Parker likes to say. And we're doing it in his own backyard in Florida. We are in Jacksonville for UFC 273 at the VyStar Arena. What a card we have. We've been talking about it all week, and now we get to talk about it with a little bit of money on the line. Again, I am Brett Okamoto. That is Ian Parker in Jacksonville, Florida. We're going to get to see Khamzat this week. We're going to get to see Khamzat tomorrow, Volkanovski. Finally, the rematch between Aljamain Sterling and Pichel. What are you looking forward to most before we get into this?
Khamzat Chimaev, I'm excited. I want to finally see this guy in person. I want to see him, what he does. Gilbert Burns, the biggest test of his career. I'm looking forward to Aljo and Pichel finally setting this in the cage. And let's see if Volkanovski can continue that greatness, which I think he just might.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking to you about the Khamzat Chimaev card. But before we get into that, let's look at these early prelims. You can find them on ESPN+. Julio Arce versus Daniel Santos is kicking off the card. Piero Rodriguez, Kay Hansen. You got Alexei Olenek out there fighting Jared Vanderaa. He was supposed to fight Ilir Latifi, who was actually a teammate of Khamzat. Ilir couldn't make it, so he's fighting Jared Vanderaa. And we will start with a curtain jerker at 135 pounds. Julio Arce versus Daniel Santos. Man, Arce has had to face some tough competition, man. He's gone through Dan Ige, fought Daniel Tamer. Song Yadong in his last fight. He's gotten some wins over some big names. Another tough test here against Daniel Santos, a guy who I don't think a lot of people are familiar with, but you like this guy.
I do, and that's what makes him dangerous. Santos is an excellent striker. He's kind of good everywhere, and he's very aggressive, and he just doesn't stop. It's the angles, it's everything. Arce, you know what? Styles make fights. I think this one is dangerous. I think this could end up being one of those fight of the nights that just happened to bless us early in the card. I'm taking a flyer on Santos at plus 160. Arce gets hit too much, and Santos can hit.
I agree with you. I hope that the crowd shows up early, because that is a good fight to kick off the card. Let's go to 115 pounds, or 118 pounds actually, because Kay Hansen, 22 years old, missed weight by 2.5 pounds, which is pretty significant actually at 115. She's coming off back-to-back losses, so really needs a victory here. Will she get it against Piero Rodriguez?
You know what? I like this fight to go to decision. Both women, that tends to happen with how they win. For Hansen, there's no secret here. She wants to get the fight to the floor. She wants to get her submission game going, but I think her style's become a little too predictable, maybe too much too soon, this young of age. I think Piera gets it done here, but for me, I think the more solid play is that it goes to a decision. I don't see anyone getting the finish.
Okay, so from 115 pounds, we go to the big boys at heavyweight. Alexei Olenek taking on Jared Vanderaa. Alexei, you know, we talked about him previously. He was supposed to fight Ilir Latifi. You did not like him in that fight. Do you like him here, though, against Vanderaa?
You know what? I still don't. For me, Alexei Olenek, again, when you talk about predictability, when it comes to somebody, it's either Ezekiel choke or go home. If he doesn't get that on Vanderaa, I think he loses. We saw Vanderaa against Andrei Arlovski. This was a guy that stayed tight in the pocket for 3 rounds, good striking, can take shots, and Olenek comes through and hard with these hammer shots. If he doesn't land one of those big ones, I think Vanderaa's cardio, and I know it's weird to say with heavyweight, gets it done, can land the jab. I like Vanderaa here.
You like Vanderaa? Okay, it's almost giving me Paul Craig vibes, where it's just like the guy has one way to win a fight, but he's so good at that awkward one submission way to win the fight. But we're taking Vanderaa in the last.
Paul Craig might not like that.
Prelim. Let's go to the rest of these prelims here. Ian Gary versus Darian Weeks is sort of that main event on the prelims. You got Anthony Hernandez taking on Josh Fremd. Aspen Ladd is back for her second appearance since knee surgery. She's taking on Raquel Pennington. And Mickey Gall against Mike Malott from Canada. You got Malott as a minus 210 favorite taking on Mickey Gall. What do you think of this one?
You know what? When guys come off the Contender Series and they perform so well, most of the time they don't show well in their first fight in the UFC. And Mickey Gall is someone that has been quite confusing in his career, very up and down, but he switched gyms. He seems to have it all together. I think for him it's been a cardio issue, and then kind of wanted to be this striker once he got a knockout. If he just sticks to the game and gets out of the first round against Malott, he can get it done. I like Mickey Gall here. Malott has shown in other fights after the first round, he fades, he's been submitted. If Mickey Gall can get past that power of Malott, I'm taking a shot at the seasoned veteran, Mickey Gall.
I love it, plus 175. And he is a seasoned veteran. Sometimes it feels like that CM Punk stuff was just yesterday, but that has been a little while now, and he's been alternating wins and losses basically since those two early victories against CM Punk and Sage Northcutt. Let's go to a super interesting one here, man, at 135. Aspen Ladd taking on Raquel Pennington. I don't think that Vegas has really figured out what to do with Aspen Ladd. You know, she's lost as a big favorite. She's surprised us at times. I think that she's kind of a hard one to sort of nail down, but I think she's getting older. I think the experience is starting to get there. As I mentioned, this is her second appearance since knee surgery, and just talking to her team, I don't think she was completely comfortable and confident in that knee, and now maybe she will be going into this fight. She's really looking forward to this matchup. Will any of that matter, or are we taking Raquel Pennington here?
We're taking Raquel Pennington here. And listen, Aspen Ladd, I think, is a talented fighter. Another one that kind of hopped in a little young, a little maybe too much too soon, and also really predictable. She wants to fight to get to the floor. Her striking just isn't there, in my opinion, and Raquel Pennington has fought really high-level competition. We've seen in Rocky's last couple of fights. The clinch, the boxing, the takedown defense, and now we're seeing submissions out of Rocky Pennington. Yeah. This line should be way higher. I am shocked that it's only a minus 190. Wow. I just can't trust Aspen Ladd yet against someone with the experience of Rocky Pennington. Okay, let's move to the middleweight division. You got Anthony Hernandez, and this is one that probably drove you a little crazy, Ian, as you were trying to prep for this card, because Kelvin Gastelum was supposed to be on here. Dricus du Plessis was supposed to be fighting Anthony Hernandez. Then he's fighting Kelvin Gastelum. Now he's in Jacksonville and not even fighting on the card. He's going to be in the building watching as a spectator. Josh Fremd is the one who sort of benefits from all this because he gets the call into the UFC to face Anthony Hernandez. What do you think about this matchup? Look, this is an interesting fight. You got a guy in Fremd who's getting into the UFC. He's got a lot of finishes, and you got a guy in Hernandez against the Adolfo Vieira fight who's getting crushed, and then he pulled off a huge upset. For me, you got two guys that want to go for the finish. Sometimes hesitation happens. They don't want to get knocked out. I'm going to take a shot here at plus money, go over 1.5. I think the first round will be a little slower than people expect. Okay, our second plus money pick here on the prelims. Let's go to Ian Gary taking on Darian Weeks. Darian Weeks, an interesting guy, man. He had an amateur career. He's been an amateur since 2016. You see he's only got 5-1, but I think he's got a little bit more experience than that. He's been in some professional boxing matches. What do we think of Weeks? And obviously Ian Gary, who's getting a lot of hype right now. I think Darian Weeks has an opportunity here to derail a huge hype train in Ian Gary, although Ian Gary, you know, over at Cage Warriors has proven as a double champ, and then he came into his first fight against Jordan, and he did take a lot of shots, took some time to download that information, then get the knockout. Darian Weeks can win this fight if the wrestling is there. He can't go in there with an ego and pretend like, I want to go knock this guy out. A win gets him that huge upset. For Darian Weeks, he's got to wrestle. Now, easier said than done. Ian Gary trains over at Sanford. He's got some great wrestlers there. You know, he trains with Gilbert Burns. I just think Ian Gary gets this done by TKO or KO, and we're getting him at plus 110 to do that.
Plus 110 to finish the fight. Okay, yeah, but I look at this as a test for Ian Gary. I do think that Darian Weeks can bring some challenges in this fight. We'll see at plus 310. All right, let's get to what we're really here to talk about, right? It's this main card. It is a great-looking main card. You could argue it's the best-looking main card of the year so far. Alexander Volkanovski, Korean Zombie, of course, at the top. Aljamain Sterling, Prodion. We've been waiting for this fight basically since March of 2021. Gilbert Burns, Khamzat Chimaev. Nobody will be leaving their seats for that one, Ian. And then Mackenzie Dern, Tisha Torres, and Vince Pichel against Mark Madsen. And let's start there. Mark Madsen versus Vince Pichel. You know, Madsen was a guy who, you know, the Olympian, guy who won a silver medal at the games. He came in with some fanfare, but he just hasn't been very active, man. 3 fights in the last 3 years. Does he keep it going here? He is 3-0 in the UFC. Do we like him here?
I do like him here. I think Pichel is a talented fighter, and he's extremely tough. Good takedown defense, good cardio, but there's a big difference in good takedown defense, and it is takedown defense against an Olympian wrestler. For me, Madsen's path to victory, clinch, wrestle, and don't get tired. Yep. I think he learned that against Clay Guida, so I'm going to go Madsen here. Okay, we're taking Madsen on that one. Let's go to Tisha Torres taking on Mackenzie Dern. Dern coming off of that loss to Marina Rodriguez, which, hey, Marina Rodriguez is pretty darn good. Tisha Torres, man, she lost 4 in a row, and she has really climbed back up that hill. 3 wins in her last 3 appearances. Dern is the small favorite here, but this is about as close as it gets. Minus 115 for Dern. Who do you like here? You know what? I'm going Tisha Torres here. There's something about Tisha, to your point, Brett. Lost 4 in a row, but look at who she lost to, top-level competition. She's been around forever and a day, but she was really young, and look at that record still, a great winning record. She is putting it together. Her cardio's there. She's putting on muscle. She's not small in the division anymore. I like the striking, and we saw Dern and Rodriguez. If you can keep the fight standing, Dern is wild. Tisha is not. She's very methodical. She's very strong. Keep the fight standing. Torres wins. I'm going to take it a step further. Tisha Torres wins by decision.
Tisha Torres by decision is the pick. Another plus money there. I gotta love it. A lot of plus money's coming.
We're going for it.
For me and Parker in Jacksonville, trying to show off in his home state. All right, let's get to Khamzat Chimaev and Gilbert Burns. And what are you gonna do with this fight? You see what the bettors are doing so far. It opened at minus 440 in Khamzat's favor, which minus 440 against somebody like Gilbert Burns. Then it goes all the way up to minus 625, drops slightly to minus 550, and now you're seeing that underdog money. People are saying, wait a second, I can get plus 400 on Gilbert Burns, give me some of that. And now it's dropped down to minus 490 for Khamzat Chimaev, but still ridiculous, man. Minus 490 against Gilbert Burns. And I gotta say, I don't know where you're gonna go with this, but let me just say, I don't see how you can bet Khamzat Chimaev here. I just don't see how there's going to be any value in betting him whatsoever. And just, he's taking a step up in competition. We haven't really seen this guy face adversity. Does he win? I mean, yeah, I think a lot of us would say that the line is there for a reason. But how can you bet on this guy? I mean, he was minus 500 against Jingliang Li in October. And this is Gilbert Burns we're talking about. So how are you looking at it from these odds?
First off, I love the leech. But what Chimaev did to him, he picked him up like it was his child, walked across the cage, spoke to Dana White. And I think he got the submission while he was still having a conversation with Dana. Yeah. You know, there's something about this guy. People talk about him for years. And once every few years we get this type of prospect, but no one really breaks through other than like a John Jones situation. You know, no one follows through. This is someone I think who really can do it. His wrestling, look, you go look at that wrestling match he had with Jack Madsen. He looked like he was 200 pounds, okay? Each fight, he has followed through with his activity, through his style. He's a smart fighter. He knows exactly what he needs to do here. Where I'm confused on is how does Gilbert Burns actually win outside of tagging Khamzat Chimaev? And if you don't think that Khamzat's ever been punched in practice by a heavyweight or a middleweight, come on, guys. This is the UFC. These are pro fighters. They spar. He's been hit. I think he takes the fight to the floor. I think he gets it done by TKO or a KO. I wouldn't bet it straight. Listen, Gilbert's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, his black belt, how good he is on the ground, I think is going to help him defensively, not offensively. Yeah. If he puts Khamzat on his back, hey, that would be a great surprise. I don't see it. I also think the weight, the size. This guy. How did he even make 170?
I don't know. And that. Will that work to his benefit? Will it someday not work to his benefit? I mean, we've only seen it work to his benefit, but then he hasn't been tested yet. And when does that start to show up? When does it? If you've cut too much weight, when will it start to get you as you're being tested? And so, I mean, like I said before, I see everything that Khamzat is. I mean, he could be a welterweight champion for sure. But when I look at those odds, and we showed what he has closed at for all of his fights, I mean, he's closing against Gilbert Burns in the same vicinity when he's closing against some of these other guys.
It's like the ranking doesn't even matter, to your point. It's insane. Number 2 at that rank. So I understand why people would take Gilbert. And Gilbert has shown us over the years his striking has improved. We've seen it. And look, he knocked down Kamaru Usman in their fight, but then he got dropped. So that chin also scares me a little bit. Sure. If he's not dictating the pace, if he's not landing those hooks on Khamzat Chimaev, for me, I like Chimaev by TKO or KO at plus odds. I know you're loving this today.
Yes,
and I think this is kind of a steal. You know, he's been finishing these fights. If he subs Gilbert Burns, wow. If he finished it by TKO or KO, that wouldn't surprise me ground and pound. I think we have something special here. That's not a knock on Gilbert. Styles make fights. I think Chimaev is the real deal.
Well, I will say that you're taking him by TKO. That is what all of them are predicting. You know, you talk to his manager, you talk to his coach, you talk to Darren Till. They are all saying that he's going to knock him out. So for all of them to be saying that, it may kind of give you a glimpse at sort of what they're thinking about in this fight. All right, let's go to the co-main event. It's 135 pounds. It's a unification bout. Who is the real champ here? Aljamain Sterling or Petr Yan? That's a polarizing question in MMA these days. Sterling plus 350. Petr Yan coming back at minus 450. Yan was the favorite the first time that they fought in March of 2021, but the odds were nowhere near this. I think he was like minus 125 or something, minus 150. Now he's all the way up to minus 450. So how does that influence how you're going to bet this?
The days of getting Petr Yan at minus 120.
Those were nice.
It was a dream. Look, in this fight, let's start off with Aljamain Sterling here. In his first fight where he was having true success against Petr Yan, that pace was insane. He was throwing a million strikes. Where the problem, though, was the wrestling wasn't getting there. His shots were a little too predictable. And I think he was 1 for 7 in takedowns, I think, in that first round, and Petr Yan popped back up. And in typical Petr Yan fashion, I don't even want to look at that knee, but in typical Petr Yan fashion, first round, probably lost to Aljo. You know, just kind of sits back. He downloads his information. This is what Petr Yan does. I think the striking goes in Petr Yan's favor. I think the cardio goes in his favor. And if he can stop the takedowns, I don't know how Aljo wins. You know, we saw literally Petr Yan tossing him around like he was a kid. The other thing that people aren't mentioning as much is Aljo has been out for quite some time, had a neck surgery, and while that was going on, what was Petr Yan doing? He was beating Corey Sandhagen in one of the better fights we've seen in a long time in that weight class.
Yes, he was. I mean, we obviously will see when this fight starts how it's going to play out, but to me it seems pretty obvious what Aljo's game plan is, to do exactly what he did in that first round, but just to be in the absolute best shape of his life, which he is. I mean, you can see that. You can see it in his physique. You can see it in the training videos that he's put up. You can see the fact that he made 134.5 pounds. I mean, this guy didn't even need, this guy came in underweight on a championship fight. So I think we know what we're going to get from Aljamain Sterling. So is there any chance that he's telling the truth, that he wasn't physically right the first time around, and that we actually did see him have a lot of success when he could maintain that pace, and when that pace went, so did the fight for him? Is there any concern for you?
You know what? I don't think that Aljo, I don't think that would have mattered, because Petr Yan was just beating him everywhere, and Aljo was still coming forward. If he could keep that pace up, I think it might confuse Petr Yan a little bit, but I just think Petr Yan is again, talk about special talent. The striking's there. I don't know where he has a hole in his game, and his cardio, he just doesn't get tired. And he's mean. Bro, he's like legit mean, and he's only fighting at this weight. I'm terrified of him like I am of Chimaev, like Francis Ngannou. I like Yan and Aljo to go over 3.5 rounds. I also like Petr Yan to win, plus money, by decision.
On fire. That's how this guy's showing off in Florida, no doubt about it. You know, we might have two of the very best pound-for-pound fighters on the planet right now. And Petr Yan in the co-main, and then Alexander Volkanovski in the main event. This guy has just really come into his own. He is owning that championship belt, is what he told me, is that, hey, he was like he's a people pleaser. He was thinking about other people. Now he's just thinking about himself. What do I want to do with my career? What is my legacy going to look like? And he just looks like he's on a different planet right now when it comes to just mindset, which is very, very important in this sport. And look at the odds. They're reflective of that. -700. It opened at -440. And books were like, uh-oh, we made a mistake. It jumped all the way up to -800, and now it's settling at -700. +500 for Zombie, who has had a tremendous career, man, but how can he win this fight?
You know what? For me, the Korean Zombie, what he has to do here is he has to avoid the calf kicks of Volkanovski, dictate somewhat of the pace, which is so hard, but also I think he's got to lean into that wrestling a little bit. You know, earlier on in his career, he was getting some nice chokes on the ground outside of the twister. His grappling was there, his wrestling was there, and we have not seen how many people hold Volkanovski down on his back to try and steal rounds. If I'm Zombie, I'm going out there and I'm shooting a hard double and try to really hold Volk down for at least the whole first round. Beat him up a little bit. You know, you're not going to get him tired. But at the same time, I don't see that happening. I think Volkanovski has beaten the who's who of everyone in the division. There's a reason why he may go down as the best in this weight class by the time he is done here. I think Zombie is a tough person to put away. I don't see a spinning back elbow happening like it did in the other fight. For me, man, just Volkanovski is just, listen, where is he bad?
Yeah, nowhere. That's why I said he's right up there with the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. You can make that argument. I mean, you could put him right there with John Jones. You could put him right there with Kamaru Usman. So I am just so impressed by Volkanovski. I will ask you this. He has been very open saying, I will be unhappy if this fight goes a distance. I will literally be disappointed, upset with myself if I'm unable to finish him, because I've studied him, I know what he's bringing, and I see opportunities where I can finish him. A lot of times that's fighter bluster, that's promotion. Alexander Volkanovski, like when this guy says something, he means it. Do you take that into account at all? And then what do you think about a finish here?
I don't. It's not that I'm saying he doesn't want to finish the fight. Everyone wants to finish their fight. It's just sometimes you got to let it come to you. And Zombie is not. There's a reason why he's called the Zombie. Doesn't die, or he's the living dead, whatever it is. You know, for me, Volkanovski, if I'm him, I just want to win in dominant fashion, even if it's by decision. If he dominates over 5 rounds and puts on a show, that's not going to take away from his greatness. We're going to love him even more. We want to see every aspect of the game that he has. I don't think he gets the finish here. I think he does get this done. I think he gets it done by decision. I'm sorry we're not at plus money, but hey, -125. We're almost at even there compared to the minus craziness that we're putting up there for
-125 doesn't look too bad when you're looking at -700 for him just to win the fight. Man, I've enjoyed talking about these fights. These are just good fights on this main card. I'm looking forward to Saturday. And let's talk about how we're going to make it profitable for us. Where are you going with your best bets?
And here we go. Volkanovski by decision, -125. Sterling Yan over 3.5 rounds. Also Petr Yan by decision, and Brett's favorite plus money. Khamzat Chimaev by TKO, KO. I hope not by DQ, but that's at plus 120 as well. That would be rough. To not only lose, but then by disqualification to Khamzat would be terrible. And the Rocky Pennington -190. It's a little high. I just think that she's better everywhere. She's fought higher level competition. I like her over Aspen Ladd. And then the Parker's Parlay. Volkanovski, Yan, Chimaev, Gary Pennington. Yes, chalky, but yes, plus 270. I don't see any of them losing. We don't have to worry about methods. Just get it done. Pay us. Let's go to the window. Let's win.
Just handing out plus money picks like candy down here in Florida is Ian Parker. All right, man. Well, this has been fun. Final thoughts on the evening. And you know what, actually, I will say, if Khamzat Chimaev gets past Gilbert Burns, and if he fights Kamaru Usman, I think I've asked you this before, but just seeing how crazy the odds are going now, and that he's -500 against Gilbert Burns when he was -500 against Jingliang Li, what are the betting odds for Khamzat Chimaev and Kamaru Usman?
Well, I love that you almost gave me a chance to play matchmaker, because what I would really love to see if Khamzat wins, because we know Leon's going to fight Kamaru Usman, I would like to see Khamzat Chimaev fight Colby Covington and get that title contender. And I even think Khamzat Chimaev would be the favorite there. If he fights Kamaru Usman after running through Gilbert Burns and a potential Colby Covington, it would be so hard to not take Khamzat Chimaev. I just hope he's under -200. That's not to say that Usman couldn't get it done. He's still a great champion. There's a threat everywhere. Yep. This guy's special, though, and I'm terrified of him.
Well, let's not jump the gun, though. Gilbert Burns will have his say on Saturday, and it goes down on ESPN+. You can see the prelims on ESPN+. The pay-per-view is there, obviously. And we will be there in Jacksonville checking out UFC 273 from our partner and myself, Ian Parker, Brett Okamoto. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining. Hopefully we made you a little bit of cash.